The TSBD, better known at the time as the Sexton Building at 411 Elm Street, is obviously a critical element to the assassination. It just happened to be the last building in the motorcade route before the president was breezing towards the Trade Mart. It just happened to relocate from the first floor of the Dow Tex building across the street, 501 Elm, where it had been for over 10 years, to 411 Elm only a few months before the assassination. This move just happened to free up the first floor of the Dow Tex building, a location of strange activity on 112263. The previous occupants of 411 Elm, the wholesaler grocer Sexton Company, just happened to vacate the building after 20 years in November 1961. The TSBD leased the Sexton building as early as January 1962, but just happened to let it remain vacant for at least 18 months. The owner of the TSBD building, actually the Dallas Trust Company, whose executive vice president was Willard G. Weigel, who just happened to be a director at the Dallas Trade Mart, just happened to be Colonel D.H. Byrd, who just happened to be a founder of the Civil Air Patrol. Byrd just happened to be chairman of the Civil Air Patrol National Executive Board at the same time David Ferry was aide to CAP's National Commander General McElroy. David Ferry just happened to be Lee Oswald's cadet instructor in 1955. Byrd just happened to be out of the country on safari in Portuguese Mozambique with German Werner von Alvensleben at the time of the assassination. When Alvensleben visited the U.S., he just happened to be the guest of Fred C. Koch, father of Koch brothers fame, who just happened to be the co-founder of the John Birch Society. Oswald just happened to start work as an order filler at TSBD 5 weeks before the president's trip to Dallas. The TSBD phones just happened to go dead as the motorcade approached. The TSBD lights just happened to go off as the motorcade approached. The TSBD elevators just happened not to function when Officer Baker and Supervisor Truly summoned them moments after the shots. The stairs to the upper floors just happened to be off limits other than for those permitted access. Crewmen just happened to be laying flooring on the 6th floor that week. The presidential motorcade just happened to be diverted so that it would make a ridiculously wide turn onto Elm just in front of the building, slowing it down considerably as it sloped toward the triple underpass. A rifle, a sniper's nest, and 3 neatly placed cartridges just happened to be found with little to no difficulty on the 6th floor. In the ensuing Warren investigation, anything that did not play into the lone sniper from the TSBD 6th floor theme was dismissed, whether it be witnesses in the building or in the plaza who saw or heard otherwise, testimony from Parkland doctors, limousine evidence, autopsy evidence, knowledge of the hit, both before and after. Miltier just didn't talk before the assassination, he talked after. The only thing that mattered was that the murder must and could only have been accomplished from that building, on that floor, from that window, by that man. The whole narrative of Lee Harvey Oswald as the sole killer of the president, firing from the 6th floor window, rests on the critical role of the building itself. William Weston advanced provocative research about the book Depository. Weston quotes journalist L.C. Glaze, who said of the building, quote, "There is a very large spider guarding this web of secrecy. I have entered other webs, but this one is different because the spider leaves the web and stalks its prey, sometimes for many years." What exactly did the Texas School Book Depository Company do? In his affidavit to the Warren Commission, TSBD President Jack C. Kaysen stated, quote, "The corporation acts as an independent agency for a group of 33 publishers to warehouse and distribute textbooks to the various schools in the states of Texas, Oklahoma, Arkansas, Louisiana, and New Mexico. It has no other business activity other than that aforementioned. It is not connected in any way with any state or municipal government and operates solely as a private corporation with a charter from the state of Texas." Kaysen's affidavit was terse and entirely unhelpful, yet he spent nearly his entire career with the book depository. He was elected president and chairman of the board as far back as 1935. At the time of the assassination, he was still president and also treasurer, one of 3 directors with O.V. Campbell and Roy S. Truly, who hired Oswald, and was one of 2 shareholders with O.V. Campbell. So Kaysen was certainly in a position to share important details about the workings of the TSBD. Kaysen, after all, oversaw the move from 501 Elm to 411 Elm. Gladys Swope Kaysen, who wrote a memoir, One Life, a Memoir, 2004, which devotes a section of how the aftermath of the assassination changed the family forever, so much so that they had to move residences. Quote, "Never did he become interested in searching for those who assassinated the president, nor did I. We made a pact not to discuss the act or its details." Jack C. Kaysen bought the business in 1947 and changed the name from Hugh Perry to the Texas School Book Depository. So those invested in the book depository business would have regularly interacted with the state legislature, school districts, publishing companies, which leased office space on the premises, transportation and shipping authorities. Shipments came by train at the time, and naturally, city and police personnel. According to the FBI, 65 individuals had access to the book depository building. The Bureau estimated 73 people were known to be in the building throughout November 22nd. The book depository was hand in glove with the education policies of the Texas Good Neighbor Commission, a propaganda arm that advanced friendly relations with Mexico. Many figures of suspicion were involved in Good Neighbor outreach efforts like Sister City events and Mexican debutantes visiting Texas. D.H. Byrd often participated in hosting affairs. The entire Good Neighbor agenda stemmed from the Office of Inter-American Affairs, whose presidential appointed coordinator was Nelson Rockefeller. Moreover, it should be at least noted that Roy S. Truly moonlit for the North American Aviation Plan in Dallas, an entity that until 1938 owned Eastern Airlines before it was sold to Eddie Rickenbacker of General Motors. David Ferry, of course, was an Eastern Airline pilot in the 1950s during his Civil Air Patrol tenure. Lawrence Rockefeller, younger brother to Nelson and David, was a board member from 38 to 60. Eastern offices were located at 10 Rockefeller Plaza. And here's where the Rockefeller connection comes in, and Jack Kaysen appears to be the Rockefeller link on the ground. Kaysen attended the University of Chicago, its founding funded by John D. Rockefeller. After university, Kaysen managed the Dallas office of the Lyons and Carnahan Publishing Company before becoming president of the Book Depository. Lyons and Carnahan continued to have office space in the TSBD. In her oral history with the Sixth Floor Museum, Mrs. Kaysen mentioned accompanying Mr. Kaysen on business trips to New York, hobnobbing with publishing colleagues at nightclubs, dancing into the night. As Richard James DeSocio writes in Clash of Dynasties, if someone had the wherewithal to enter the sixth floor of the Texas School Book Depository and flip open book covers, it would have read Rockefeller Center. So we must look again at D.H. Byrd and wonder, from whom was he taking orders? His boys from Big D or the Yanks from back east? One need to only look back at the famous South Pole expedition of Byrd's cousin, Admiral Byrd, and follow the trail of who financed it. D.H. Byrd himself and Junior Rockefeller, father of Nelson, David, and Lawrence. In gratitude, Byrd named a land formation Rockefeller Plateau and a land formation in Antarctica after D.H. Byrd. And finally, it just happened that when Byrd bought the 411 Elm Street building in 1936, it was home to the farm manufacturing company International Harvester. 1 year earlier, Harold McCormick became International Harvester's chairman of the board, though they were then divorced. McCormick's ex-wife, with whom he had 5 children, was Edith Rockefeller, youngest daughter of John D. Was the murder of our 35th president the result of the sins of the fathers damning the fates of their sons? Or did it just happen that way?